All right. So after a long time, we are starting. Today we will talk about acting in the actors group, and acting not as a profession only. Though we talk about the craft of acting, techniques of acting, and if we go deeper, we will talk about philosophy. Now, as an actor, many people will ask, why are you going for philosophy? Why you are going for this and that? But the thing is, if you want to delve deeper into life, at some point of your life, you start asking questions. You find your own philosophy, or maybe you get inspired by someone else's philosophy. You read different writers and you can relate to them. Then psychology, different discoveries, but ultimately it's about humanity. It's about human beings. So philosophy will give you an inspiration, psychology will give you an inspiration, and whatever you read, sociology about people, society will give you inspiration. Then if you really want to research, if you really want to delve deep into the discipline of acting, the nitty-gritty of acting, the nuances, if you want to go deeper into those aspects, you can do your research. But what happens is, when you are in that profession, you don't think about much. Many people don't think about those theories and disciplines. Though they read books they can relate to, they want to read more. At some point of time, people get complacent, they get saturated. So they want to look for inspiration elsewhere. They want to read some books, that can give them some ideas regarding acting, something they can work on so that they can be better actors, they can enhance their repertoire and all these things. So those things are there. But if you really want to be great at acting, you will see that you will try different techniques, you will do improvisation, you will try to understand the character more, you will try to get into the character's head, you will try to look at the interaction, you will try to understand the situation, understand the inner layerings of the situation, the complexity of the characters. So you will go through all these things, and you will see that the more you do that, sometimes a bit of it you can use in your performance, but that is shaping you as an actor, that is shaping you as a human being. So some people come from training. We talk about actors group, many people come from training. They go to theaters, they go to film schools, they go to the academy of acting, they go to the academy of theaters, they go through a lot of literature, they go through a lot of character studies, they go through a lot of techniques they can apply. But you will see that whenever we are talking about acting in Hok Aloron, you will see that whether you read a book, or you practice, or you go through philosophy, or you go through psychology, sociology, whatever you, social sciences, humanities, whatever you go through, you will see that it will have an outcome, and the outcome is your performance. It can be your performance, or you are getting to know more about acting. So if someone is asking you, what can I know more about acting, where can I go to, so you can give them a proper advice. They can read those books, they can figure out on their own, they can try different stuff, and they can figure out, they are trying their own acting styles, how they can come up with a particular performance. They can do that. Things are available, and if you want to delve deeper into those aspects, you can write your own book. But you will see that ultimately it's about the human being, and the person is giving a performance. So what happens is, we have seen different people have done different research. Sometimes when you are in this profession, maybe you haven't heard of those people, but someone who has gone through a school, that person has gone through those names, those techniques and all these things. But sometimes what happens is, you go through a lot of practices, you try to you try different things, you try to do improvisation, and you think, you introspect, you think deeply about the subject, what performance you are giving, and how you are preparing yourself for that particular performance, for that particular character, how you are interacting with the other characters, how you are preparing yourself. So when you do that, you will see that you are going through those aspects, theoretical, practical, and all these things. But already many people have gone through a lot of things. They have figured out before those discoveries, those disciplines, the things we talk about. They figured out and they created this knowledge, in terms of theories, in terms of books and all these things. And then people got inspired from that and they created their own things. So you can relate to it. Maybe for 20 years you have done acting, but suddenly you are looking through the names and their discoveries and you can relate to it. Oh, I have done this. There was a situation, I applied this, I can relate to this. These are the things. That's why we are emphasizing a lot about education. Education means not that, a particular way of being educated, but rather you are having that continuous learning mindset, whatever you are going through. If you have to give a small performance too, you are not compromising, you are giving your best. Whatever you have to go through, whatever research you have to go through, whatever practices, methods you have to go through, whatever processes you have to go through, whatever you have to study, whatever you have to get your inspiration from, whatever you do that, but ultimately it comes to that performance. And you are learning, you are learning from your mistakes, you are learning from the things you did well, where you could have improvised, so all these things. So generally what we do is, when people go through these film schools and then acting schools, they learn these names, Stanislavski, imagination, the importance of imagination, tempo, rhythm, physical tensions, free body and relaxations, invisible rays, natural silence, awareness, movement, emotional recall, sense memory, emotional memory, so the grammar of acting people get to know about. Then we talk about bits, actor becomes the character and all these things. Drama therapy, you can use drama as therapy too. Many people are in other professions, but you can use drama as therapy. Sometimes people are in other professions, but they are learning so much from acting performances. So it's a great service you do to the society too. It's a profession, you are earning a lot, you're giving a lot of entertainment, but many people are learning a lot from that performance too, So you can give a lot, you can try a lot of things, pacing exercises we can do. Pacing exercises in terms of movement, in terms of speech, in terms of voice, intonation, modulation, diction, then this intensity and loudness, so many things we can play with. But the human experience is really important, how people are having that experience. So many people say that whatever is happening on the stage must have a purpose. So all these theories, they talk about it should have a purpose. We are focusing on physical action, you don't get distracted, to get away from the audience. You get interested on something on the stage, you don't get distracted, and you live your part every time you perform. So whatever part you are performing, you are actually living your part. So those things, and physical and vocal apparatus we have as a human being, and we are working on that, tension and relaxation, how we are working on that. Listen, how you are listening, you are creating a deep connection with your partner, interaction. So whenever we are doing communication, we are doing dialogue, we are doing interaction, it's a big thing for an actor, for an artist, because you are listening, you are giving a lot of importance to it, provided that person is worthy of giving importance, then you are forming a deep connection with that person, so with that partner. So energy communication, experiential communication, emotional space you are having, all these things we talk about, and we will go through all these things more. But you will see that participation in life, as I always mention, the more you are exploring life, the more you are enjoying life, looking at life in a nuanced manner, looking at people, looking at their, how they act, how they perform, how they do their gestures, how they do their movements, verbal language, body language, and all these things, how they react. So you're looking at the character studies, you're looking at the speech patterns, you're looking at all these things. Many people go through all these things in drama schools, Then if you have to embody one character, what are the processes you have to go through? So you are working on that. Now Strasbourg, if I talk about Strasbourg, taking things out of your past. Something happened and you are taking things out of your past. So psychological, Stanislavski, if I talk about Stanislavski, it's a lot about emotional memory, psychological faith, if I talk about Strasbourg, taking things out of your past, what happened, and you are emotionally, you are recalling and you are taking things out. Stella Adler, if I talk about Stella Adler, act not with words, but act with your soul. So a lot, listen with your blood, act with your soul, speak out your tormenting thoughts, take life in completely. She talks about all these things. But, take life in, just I mentioned, exploring. So different people are talking about similar things in a different way. So when you take life in, you are exploring, you are taking life in, you will see that you can relate to it. You have your toolbox and you can create so much, from your toolbox. For that particular character, for that particular scene, for that particular situation, you need something from that toolbox, and you are picking it, and you are trying those things, to give that performance, to play that particular role. So you can do all those things. Sandy Meisner, when he talk about improvisation, acting, reacting, repeating, observing, watching the other person. So lines back and forth. Repetition is a big deal. If I talk about Robert Louis, realism, ensemble playing, truthful on the stage again. So we can talk about all these things, but I am just mentioning few things, because whenever I have talked about acting, I have mentioned names. But the thing is, if you have gone through all these things, if you have really practiced it, if you have really studied it, practiced it, you have tried to implement it, whether it is in your writing, whether it is in your the performances you directed, whether it is in the performances you yourself did, you can talk about stuff very naturally, you can write about stuff very naturally. But people who haven't gone through that, who haven't gone through that effort, that discipline, that effort, those practices, those processes, to them these are just words, lines, what he is saying, we don't even understand what is the meaning of it. But people who have gone through that, they have understood what acting can give you. If we talk about that human experience, we love giving that performance, we love portraying that role, portraying that character, and we want to go to any extent to portray that character, and that is a joy of acting. Sometimes it is more than a profession, whether you call it art or whatever you call it, but you are giving it a lot, and you are having that human experience. So people who criticize it, mostly who are not from the profession, they will criticize. People who are not from the profession, they will criticize, obviously. And people who understand it but cannot perform, even these writings, these talks, these discussions can mean a lot, because they can relate to it. Oh, I could have given that performance in that way. Oh, I can relate to it. Those people are there. Some people are providing a particular kind of entertainment. They don't want to listen to all these things. But when you are not understanding or listening to all these things, or you don't want to understand, that means you are missing out on life. So it is not like I am rejecting this person, I am rejecting this and that. It is like, I want to give this performance in a better way. If you want to give this performance in a better way, you have to go through these processes. And these are the things we can work on. These are the processes we can go through. So ultimately, we are giving a good performance. So when we will give that performance, people will enjoy, we will enjoy, the director will enjoy. Overall, the thing we will create or the thing we will offer, that will give an entertainment people will enjoy, and great performances, So keeping all those things aside, what we are talking about here is, we are not talking about mediocrity here. That is the first thing. But if you want to give a decent performance, but you still have that in you, you are studying, you are trying to take inspiration, you are trying to, looking at, you are trying to look at places so that you can find inspiration, you can find things you can study, things you can observe, things you can imitate, things you can, imagine, so that you can become a better actor. What you can do is, you can study, you can go through those processes. I will suggest go through those processes. If you really want to be a better actor, better director, go through those processes. Even as a writer, I will say, go through those processes, because what happens is, sometimes when people are writing, there is a disconnect with the characters. There are people like that. Sometimes when people are writing, they are so much involved in the characters they are creating. The dialogues are having that, the scenes are having that, the conflicts are having that, and that is the kind of performances we want to do, Maybe you as a human being are, very different from the character you are creating, but you understand that character. So when you are writing the dialogue, when you are writing that scene, you are doing justice to that scene, or you are doing justice to that character. So it is not like a monotonous one-dimensional character, rather, complexity of the character, nuances, multi-dimensional character, you are creating. So ultimately, what happens is, sometimes people do a lot of research before they are creating those characters, creating those dialogues, because in one line you can say so much, and the smart audience will know in this one line you are saying so much. Sometimes a silence, a proper silence, will give a lot of entertainment to the audience. When do you give that? That is the thing you need to learn, and that is what you learn doing these practices, giving a lot of effort. You decide yourself what is good and bad for that particular movie. Then you go through drafts, you go through repetitions. This is the thing you didn't like, this is the thing you didn't like, you are improvising. But you should have that in you. You should be your own best critic, whether you are becoming an actor, whether you are becoming a director, whether you are becoming a writer, whatever it is. You should become your best critic. You don't need anyone else. Whenever I am writing this thing, I know this is the best thing I am creating, and this is objectively, not subjectively. I am not biased. I know that when I am giving it to the audience, they will like it. So I am creating, I am writing in that way. That is the dedication I am giving. That is the enthusiasm, passion. If I become part of that audience, I will enjoy it. I will enjoy the movie. That is true, So I can talk about Michael Chekhov, games and body, this actor character harmony, physical gestures, weaving method, and all these things, methods are there. And I can talk about many other people, but these are the names you should know as an actor. And the people who, some of them have gone through that, so they can relate to it. But again, I will mention one thing, earlier days and now. So theatrical and cinematic I have mentioned. How do you find a balance, more verbose, dialogue-driven scenes or scripts, then more visually, cinematic scenes, and how do you strike a balance, or you shift towards more verbose script, or it can be a more visual script. So there are different directors, there are different writers, but the thing is, people who have gone through it, they could relate to it. And another thing is, it's also about the people. Suppose you have gone through a drama school, the people who are creating the movie or the movies, you can talk to them regarding all these things. They can understand the significance of this. They can understand how to implement that. They can understand how to create a great performance out of that. So great script is being written. Great roles, great performances, those are being written. People are performing those things. Sometimes you don't find those people, so you miss those people after a long time, So that's why I will say that the names are important, but whatever you are learning, these things you should have as an actor. You should do these practices, those processes. and whatever way you can find to give a better performance, to portray the role in a much better way. So you can go for all these things. And why we are doing this? We are doing this because some people have gone through it, some people haven't gone through it, but you will see that there is a communication gap, there is a generational gap, because now people who are going through drama schools, not many people are coming out of drama schools becoming great actors, you know. But they are doing, many are doing great performances, but not are becoming great actors. Some are becoming great actors. Then there are no script, not many scripts available so that they can give great performances. So there are different kinds of movies, and you can act in all these kinds of movies because you have done those performances. You can do a great big entertainment. You can go for something really artistic, which is requiring a lot of different things as an actor. You can take part in all these things, experiences, whatever is required for that particular role you are giving. So you have that, that entertainment spectrum or that performance spectrum, whatever we call it, you have it. Then some people are huge budget movies, it is requiring a particular kind of performance and you are giving it accordingly, and the director is giving the the leadership, creative leadership, so that person knows what he or she is wanting from that particular movie. And then sometimes it's a small budget movie, but you have so much to do as an actor. But where you are getting all these things? As an actor you are performing, as an actor you are having your processes, you are having your techniques, and then you know what to bring for that particular role, based on that particular story, based on that particular script. Because suppose a character is needing to dress in a particular way for that particular role, to act in a particular way, to talk in a particular way. Now if you are doing something very different from that, if it is not an artistic choice or a creative choice, then it can have a different impact altogether, right? Sometimes you can use that as an artistic choice, as a creative choice, so you are saying something more what is there. So these are the things you learn when you actually practice, you experiment, you play with all these things. So ultimately, again and again I can talk about all these things, but we will talk about the techniques too. But that human experience, you go through all these things, love, relationships, memories, and then how you are enjoying life, experiencing life. Then you are writing, you are creating roles, you are directing, and theatrical performances are having something. Cinematography is having a great deal of lighting. You are creating drama using light. So collaboration, collaboration. Theater, it's about collaboration. Filmmaking is about collaboration. But the way the audience is receiving it, that can be very different. And that is different, in fact, because that on-stage performances, that on-stage performance, it is happening right there. Again, that is a different production. For cinema, you are capturing, you are having shots, you are capturing a particular thing, a close-up, a long shot. So depending on that, you are choosing the shot, you are trying to tell the story in a particular way. Sometimes the writer is writing those things, if the writer is the director, it is easier to write those things in a script. Sometimes many people are not writing because the director doesn't want the writer to write it. But sometimes people get overwhelmed. I think that I should write the scene in this way, I imagine the scene in this way. But the director knows better. So you can go through a discussion and you can find what is the best thing for that particular scene. But again, performances. But we don't see enough great performances. We should not complain. We should go for writing more scripts. We should go for great, filmmaking experiences, storytelling, filmmaking, great visual experience, emotional experience. And a director can be a great mentor. Apart from being a leader of the film, a great mentor. I mention these things again and again. It's a very respectful relationship. People who don't get it, they should not get it. You don't bother about all these things. You will see different kinds of people in life. Sometimes you have to be more professional. Sometimes you can talk about a lot of things. So that you can know a lot about life. You know a lot about the character. You know how you can bring a lot more in that performance. So there are different kinds of people. But when you live life, you experience life, you explore a lot, you will see that you will have different roles. You will have great acting performances. You will direct different ways, not a boring, monotonous thing, but you can direct in a much better way. You can have so much, innovation, creativity in each and every scene, And also, when we write a script, or if you have gone through a great film, you will see that each and everything matters. Even the bits. Even if I break down a scene, those things matter even, the bits and pieces of a scene, beats, scenes, sequences, everything matters. And if I am using one line, that one line is very significant in that particular scene. So that is how we write scripts, that is how we direct, that is how we talk about acting. Each and every word, each and every line is very important. We don't take it for granted. So when you want to make great films, when you want to create great performances, obviously what you want to go for? You want to go for that company too, that community where they can value words, where they can respect words, where they can understand what you are talking about. So that's why what I do myself, I try to create my own circle. Many people don't like it, many people will criticize you, but it doesn't matter, because if you really want to create your community, artistic community is very different. Not everyone is meant to be there, especially if you want to do something great. So that's why do all these things, processes, how you can write, how you can create, how you can come up with great acting performances, great directing performances, because each and everything matters in that particular movie. That is how you are writing, that is how you are making the film. When the audience is having it on screen, they are having that entertainment, they are having that experience, It is not something, you are taking very carelessly, you are not giving much importance to. People who make great films, people who come to filmmaking as a profession, the thing we are talking about in Hok Aloron, they take filmmaking very seriously. And they have come to this profession because they have to say something to the film, in this filmmaking profession, they have to tell their stories in their particular way. And one person can say this particular story in a particular way, that person will say that particular story in a completely different way. But one person is choosing to do this particular film, one person is not choosing to do this particular film, and it means a lot, So whenever we're talking about filmmaking as a profession, or filmmaking as a very serious thing, or a respectable thing, whatever you call it, because if you have gone through it, you can relate to all these things. So I don't need to mention each and every word, But people who have come through this profession, out of love, out of passion, out of enthusiasm, they know each and everything matters in a particular movie. Even when you are guiding the actors, each and everything matters. Because we are talking about a lot of things, maybe a fraction of it you are using in that particular performance, but you are shaping the actors, you are guiding the actors, you are helping them to become better actors, you are helping them to become better human beings, And maybe another movie you will do, and you will use a lot of things you discussed here in that particular movie. You don't know when, but you will do all these things. So we respect all these things, that relationship, the thing we do in filmmaking. From there, we are starting this Hok Aloron today. We will talk about different things. We will talk about a bit of, things, sometimes related to acting. Everything is related to acting, but sometimes people don't talk about all these things. We will talk about all these things, but everything is related. This acting, philosophy, psychology, social sciences, society, human beings, humanity. And then when you understand this, you will write great things, you will compose music in a great way, you will create art in a great way, you will do the cinematography in a great way, you will design the sets in a great way, you will do the costumes in a great way, not getting impressed by some talks, rather what the film requires. So that is what you are going for, you know. A film is requiring a particular thing, and you know what you are going for. And sometimes you are doing a lot of preparation before writing the script, you know, solid research. But the script is also having a particular timeline, you know, 2 hours, 2.5, or maybe 3 hours the script is having. And within that stipulated timeline, you have to tell the story. Now that story can have a lot of years condensed in that particular storyline. That story can have one particular day, events unfolding. That story can have different characters having their different lives coming together. That story can have maybe 10 minutes of your life, but you are showing it in half an hour, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours. Different ways with a lot of creative aspects. Maybe at one place you are sitting and that entire 2-hour story is happening. Maybe it is based on only one character and you are having a great movie. Maybe it is having an interaction with multiple characters and you are having a great movie. Maybe it is just 2 characters and it's their life and you are so involved in that. You are at the edge of your seat, you know, emotionally you are so involved. You can relate to it. 2 characters, 1 character, multiple characters, depends. Where are we getting inspiration from? Life. That human experience. But that particular timeline, 2 hours, 3 hours, 2.5, whatever you choose to do. And what you choose to do, that is also important. That is why in the editing table we decide, okay, we can cut it short. We can keep it within 2 hours, because sometimes when you are saying more, it can take the effect, that effect you are wanting to have, wanting the audience to have. When you are stretching it unnecessarily, sometimes it can take away the significance of that story. Sometimes people will still forgive you, because they know that you were genuine about telling the story, you were putting a lot of effort, you wanted to tell the story in a great way. But sometimes that 10 minutes or 15 minutes when you are condensing the story, you can tell the story in a better way. How you use that creative decision, how you choose to do that particular thing, that is why you need that experience. That is why storytelling is so important, because you are deciding to do that. Something you are keeping as a dialogue, something you are keeping unsaid. But that person, the audience, is also completing. They are knowing that this is happening in the background or this is happening in the scene. Even if it is not said explicitly, something is happening because it is part of the story. So smart decisions you are taking in the cinematic experience during this entire filmmaking process. You can do so much. There are so many creative decisions. There are so many innovative decisions you can take. But for that particular movie, you want to make it the best movie you can possibly make. So you are coming up with your decisions and your choices. And ultimately, people who are part of that movie, they are going for a private screening, they are mesmerized by the movie. They know that this is going to the audience, we are proud to be a part of that movie. That experience, when it is going to the audience, they are enjoying that process, they are enjoying that human experience, They are wanting to know more about the characters. One person from that audience will want to become a filmmaker, maybe. One person from that audience will want to become something related to filmmaking. They will contribute in their own ways, but that film will have an impact in the audience. Different people will receive it in different ways, but you as a director, as an artist, as a creative professional can give so much, right? So from this we are talking about Hok Aloron, and we are starting in a different way, but it is not something boring, filmmaking, It is something great. That passion, that enthusiasm, that curiosity, you want to tell a lot more, you want to make a great film, you want to have a great experience, you want to bring people together, to tell a story. It means a lot. So go for it. That is what we talk about in Hok Aloron.